a love so tender as a memory of my childhood, defiled, stepped all over, and deemed as being unworthy. A tantalizing and rejuvenating force erupts, cleanses all that was, and brings in anew to be blossomed in itself. Blossoms and leaves of pink, purple, and yellow vines grow all over that defiled her. Such a beautiful sight of greenscape, an arrangement of foliage that I could not possibly imagine. And yet I am honored to see such sights. Thank you, Goddess, for such tender love you bestow onto me. Something about this little poem is that it was during a time where I started noticing how anything that we do to disrupt true light, true love, true force, no matter what, there's forces around it to restore balance. And this is going to come in whichever way that it needs to. And so, if it means killing off what already exists in all its entirety so it can rejuvenate and bring into something more pure, and this thing that is created in you, it is given all that it needs to, all the information that it needs so it can pretty much not make the same mistakes as there was once before. And so, what aspects of yourself have you been harming? And what aspects of you have you harmed enough that now it's being asked to be looked at and to be brought back to life? Not in the exact same way that it has been alive, but in a new manner, in a manner that's more sustainable, more loved, more nurtured, and can be fully its expressed self. Nothing can be destroyed as well as it can't be brand new in a way, because everything is circulating within different levels of consciousness. And so, and within yourself, you can experience aspects of you that are of the highest and then aspects of you that are of the lowest. There's nothing that's right and wrong about it. It just is. And it's having the capacity to navigate through them and bring it to life and to help it, if you feel like you want to change the type of experience that you're having with it, to create something and giving it a home where it can thrive, where you can thrive. Yeah, my mind is going a bit like trying to focus in on what the message is, and I'm hoping that it makes sense and it's not so vague. And so I wonder, what aspects of yourself have you pretty much told a certain story about and let it be just that, and not having tried to create something beautiful from it and make it something beautiful? It's as though your stories itself is what painted the picture that it is beautiful, these aspects, but in reality, those aspects of you are hurting and it's in pain. And so, how are you going to bring it back to life? How are you going to give it life? You can't undo what's been done to those aspects of you, to those pains, but what you can do is acknowledge what is, continue to express the highest form, and you will continually continue to express the highest form. at some point when you experience what you needed to with it, you get to a place where you see that it's not so, that it could be even more pleasant. And so I encourage you to dive into that and see what comes of it. What parts of you have you neglected because it made it easier to tell a story that is accepted within your community? And what stories have you told that you've changed, but you know what? It's even those changes that you've made, they're done so you can deflect and hold off the harm that others may have on you. So it's like a story to hide a story. And so where in your life have you deflected to people with the story? And it's not that you need to show these people what all those layers of stories are, but it's for you to sit with it and experience it and express it to its fullest, highest form. And for those who are navigating through these stories and these pain bodies and these memories of pain, like, continue doing what you're doing. It's uncomfortable sitting through the pain, and sometimes it's a matter of acknowledging the story that you created to soothe the pain, to soothe to make it easy for you to live in the environment that you're living in. And so the more you dive into these stories, when they come up, you're not forcing anything, you're not pushing through it, you're not trying to find the solution right then and there. No, it comes as it goes. It comes when it comes, and it comes because it's ready to be looked at from this perspective with this intensity, because you have the capacity to look at it in this spectrum. And so continue to navigate through it, continue to process what is coming up for you. How do you process it? And the processing component of it is just the acknowledgement that you're experiencing something like this, and that the stories that you may have created soothe to soothe the discomfort that what others might be projecting onto you, and even your own perception that people around you may not be accepting of what you're expressing and experiencing. Allow yourself to genuinely play through this in its full spectrum. And so when I say this, I know there's a little light that just came on for me. It's scary sometimes. It's scary to go against the grain, to do something to be fully happy in who you are and your full being, because the human body that people around you are living in, they may not accept you, and yet the soul that they are, their truest form, does accept you. So yeah, having the courage to genuinely live in your truest form, in your authentic form. And sometimes what you perceive as being authentic, it may not be. And it's having the capacity to be in that space for yourself and not judge yourself, and be okay with the fact that you are looking at life in this manner, that you showed up in this skin in the way that you have, in the stories that you have, that you may have hurt other people, or that you may be hurting other people by stepping into who you are, who you genuinely are. It takes courage to travel through the shadows that you have, as much as it takes courage to embody the light that you are. And your full authentic expression may come with shadows, The thing is, the light, it is aware of the shadows. It cannot exist without the shadows. There is always that contrast. There is always that duality. And so one cannot exist without the other. And they are both aware of each other's full spectrum and full expression. Whether you're aware of it or not, you're always co-creating with the universe. The way you are made up, the way you think, what speaks to you, what inspires you, what triggers you, all of it has great value. It's this combination of you and whatever the elements, all the elements, the ratios that you are composed of, to your lineage, to your history, to your life experiences, to your karma, so previous lives that you've lived. All of this adds to who you are, the experience that you're having, and also the one that you get to step into. You're constantly co-creating with the universe. And you can be passive or you can be an active participant. The thing is, I feel like in this time that we're stepping into, we're being asked to show up, to not be so passive, and to not just hide and sink into pretty much darkness, into oblivion too, so we're not noticed. But at the same time, there's a contrast to that, which is always putting yourself out there in a way so you could be heard because you don't want to be forgotten. They both come from a place of lack and insecurity. There's a happy little medium. What that medium is, kind of don't know. But at the same time, I'm discovering it. I'm discovering what that medium looks like for me. And I hope that you begin to see what that looks like for you. And I feel like the ones that are listening to this, you've done enough work for you to be able to even hear this. And for you to even see pretty much the dualistic split of one coin, of one side versus the other side. Something that's popping into my head right now is the fear of doing something because you will be either noticed or you will be dismissed. So there's both of this that exists in one person. So it's this fear that you will be deemed as being crazy for having such an idea, and at the same time the fear that someone is actually listening to the fact that you have such an idea, that you can even possibly conceptualize something like this, and that they are seeing an aspect of you that, one, you may not even see, and two, are you giving ammunition for them to use that against you and tell you that you have no true, what is it, true merit. And so it can be quite daunting to build up the courage and the strength and the nervous system to begin to shift the way you show up in your reality. This very much so speaks to me too, as when I first started my journey, I was a very shy person, very shy, very timid. It took me a long time just to even sit right here and be able to communicate, to even express to people certain thoughts and ideas that I have, to actually put in pretty much my ideas in a conversation, and to share with people the possible potential extravagant ideations and conceptualizations that I may have, and being okay to have a conversation around that, and being okay to continue to articulate and express, and to dissect what it is that I'm trying to convey. And so, where in your life have you feared to show up in your full spectrum, to your fullest self? The fear that you may not be received. In actuality, that actually might be true. You may not be received. And at the same time, there is another aspect where you will be received. And that it might be a journey, but you will be received. And so it's having the courage to move through it, no matter how long it takes. There's no time frame to this. It's to have the courage to be like, I don't know how to get through this, but I'm gonna move through it. And building up the stamina and the nervous system to navigate through your darkest shadows, for you to see the possible light, the possibilities that may exist. Just that alone allows you to tap into your natural pleasures. And fully experiencing your pleasures can be quite invasive. And I say invasive is because it'll open up doors for you. And doors that you may have not wanted to navigate into, you may have not wanted to even go through, and yet you're there. And you'll be surprised at the things that please you. Actually, it's not even that you'll be surprised at what pleases you, but it's being like, oh wait, I actually do have this desire, and I do have this sense of pleasure. Is it okay that I experience it from and in this capacity? Is it okay that this is my pleasure? Is it okay that it's not quote unquote normal? Is it okay that it may not be the same way that someone around me experiences it? And yet, can this person or whoever I'm speaking with, do they have, like, whoever I'm sharing this sense of experience of pleasure, do they have the capacity to hear it? And do I have the capacity to even say it, and for them to not judge, but to be like, oh, this is interesting. I didn't see this little aspect. I didn't know that this existed. And so, do you have the capacity and the courage to even dive into your pleasures and acknowledge that they are there, and have the courage to even share those stories? Because you don't know which parts of your pleasure or your pain that might help waken up and bring life to someone else, because you had the courage to experience it, and then you had the courage to express it, to share it. And it doesn't mean you need to share it at the top of a mountain for everyone to hear. It doesn't need to be broadcasted, but just one person. It doesn't even have to be one person. It can just be with yourself. Just just the capacity to even experience any form of pleasure or pain that you may have not acknowledged. It's something, it adds value. It can be something that people tap into from the consciousness, from the collective consciousness. And so please continue navigating through the most tender parts of yourself. And from these tender parts, experiencing the contrast, whether it is pleasure or pain. Having the courage to experience it does allow you to feel alive, and new life, new stories can be birthed from those places. New narratives. So new narratives are, I did not say that right, but you get what I mean. So new narratives are being created. And so have the courage to create, and this is how you co-create with the universe. And it's not that you're not just you even co-creating with the universe, your own life and the way you perceive life does shift the way what happens in the universe, around the world, in the world. It does shift the consciousness. And so continue to have the courage to move through what you are moving through. Because in the end, you're going to see a glimpse of, whether you're throughout your journey or when you hit a certain destination, certain point, you will begin to see the beauty that you have created and the life that has been birthed from these extremes that you have had the courage to move through, to push through. And even in the space of pushing through these boundaries, it's not from a place of force, but it's from a place of gentle love and care. Yeah, so please have the courage to move through what you need to, because it's really going to help. And also, it really does help having people that you can share these experiences with, these internal stories that you're navigating through. It really helps to share them with people around you. It doesn't even have to be multiple people, just one person. Someone who can kind of be neutral about it, or be interested in actually genuinely listening to what you are sharing and not putting in their 2 cents, but actually listening and wanting to understand it from your perspective, from your point of view. Yeah. And I hope that you have the capacity to also do that for others too. Yeah, it's a bit of a give and take type of thing. So as much as you may want someone else to hold space for you, do you also have the capacity to hold space for someone else? All right, so I'm going to leave the message here, and I will speak to you guys soon.